That night didn't feel different for thousands of fans who were waiting for Jungkook's performance on stage. Army cheers echoed. The lightstick light shimmered like a sea of stars, and the atmosphere was filled with high expectations. Everyone comes to see a figure who has been known to be strong, perfectionist, and almost never shows his weakness in front of the public. However, no one expected that that night would be one of the most emotional moments in his life. The moment when Jungkook's tears fell, not because of career pressure, not because of the world's criticism, but because of one figure he always kept deep in his heart, his mother. It all started when Jungkook stood in the middle of the stage, a microphone in his hand, and the spotlight pointed right at his face. He smiled, as usual, trying to maintain his professionalism as a world-class idol. However, there is something different. His voice trembled slightly as he began to speak. Not about the next song, not about the latest project, but about the past that he rarely opens in front of the public. He began to tell stories about his early days before he was known to the world, when he was just an ordinary teenager with big dreams and even bigger burdens. He remembers when he had to leave home at a very young age to pursue a career in the entertainment industry. Many see it as a bold step, but few understand how hard the decision is for a child who has to be separated from his family, especially his mother. When the name BTS became known, people saw success, fame, and luxury. However, behind all that, Jungkook keeps a story that is not always beautiful. He once felt lonely, felt not good enough, even felt disoriented in the midst of the pressure that kept coming nonstop. At that moment, one thing he always missed was the simple voice of his mother who asked, "Are you okay today?" That sentence sounds simple, but for Jungkook, it is everything. He admitted that when everyone encouraged him to keep going, only his mother really asked about his feelings. Not about achievement, not about target, but about himself as a human being. When he said that, his voice started to break. He paused for a moment, tried to contain his emotions. However, the tears finally fell too. For the first time in a long time, the public sees the fragile side of the figure that has been considered almost perfect. The audience was silent. No screams, no cheers, only meaningful silence. Jungkook then continued his story with a quieter voice. He remembers how his mother always supported him, even when he himself doubted himself. He told how his mother was willing to let him go, even though it meant having to endure his unspoken longing. He also revealed that everything he did today, all his hard work, all his achievements, was mostly dedicated to his mother. That moment felt so real and touching. There is no script, no acting, just a child who speaks from his heart about the person he loves the most. Many fans also cried, not only because they saw their idols cry, but because they felt such a deep honesty from every word that was said. In the entertainment world that is often filled with images and perfection, moments like this are a reminder that behind all that, idols are still human. They have the same fear, doubt, and longing as anyone else. Jungkook, who has been known as Golden Magne, turns out to also have a fragile side that is rarely seen. After a while, he wiped his tears and tried to smile again. He apologized to the fans for showing his emotions, but that's where the beauty of the moment lies. He doesn't need to apologize for being a human. Precisely, that's where he becomes closer to his fans. That night, Jungkook's performance may still be spectacular as usual, but what everyone remembers the most is not the songs he performed or the choreography he performed. The most memorable is the moment when he opened his heart and let the world see who he really is. Since then, many fans started to see Jungkook from a different perspective, not only as a talented idol, but as someone who has gone through a lot to reach his current position. They began to understand that behind the smile and energy that he displayed on stage, there was a long story about the struggle, sacrifice, and such a strong family love. That moment is also a reminder for many people about the importance of family, especially the mother figure. In the midst of busyness and ambition, we often forget to ask ourselves, or those closest to us, "Are you okay?" A simple question that turns out to have a very deep meaning. For Jungkook, his mother is not only someone who gave birth to him, but also a source of strength that he always takes wherever he goes. Even when he is away from home, even when he is at the top of the world, he is still a child who longs for his mother's attention and affection. And that night, when those tears fell in front of thousands of people, the world finally saw another side of Jungkook that had been hidden. Not as a big star, not as a global icon, but as a child who loves his mother with all his heart. Maybe that's the reason why that moment was so memorable. Because behind all the splendor and glitter of the entertainment world, there's a simple story that can be felt by anyone. A story about love, about longing, and about the irreplaceable relationship between a child and his mother. However, the story did not stop on the stage that night. Precisely after the lights dimmed and the cheers slowly disappeared, the meaning of Jungkook's tears became deeper. Many thought that moment was just a momentary outburst of emotions, but for those who followed the long journey, it was the pinnacle of the feelings that he had been keeping tightly. Behind the glittering life as part of BTS, Jungkook grew up under unusual pressure. From a young age, he has been used to facing high standards, sharp criticism, and almost inhuman expectations. He is not only required to be perfect on stage, but also become a symbol for millions of people around the world. In such a position, there is often no room to look weak. However, that night, he broke all the restrictions. Some people who were backstage said that after the performance was over, Jungkook did not immediately return to his room as usual. He sat quietly for a few minutes, as if trying to gather back his scattered pieces of emotions. No camera, no spotlight, just himself. And that's where it is said that he remembers the same thing again, his mother. He once said on occasion that there was a time when he felt very tired, not physically, but mentally. The days feel long, the schedule never stops, and the world seems to keep demanding more from him. In such a condition, he does not seek applause or praise. He only longed for a simple voice, which did not judge, that did not demand anything from him. Her mother's voice. "Have you eaten? Did you get enough rest? Are you okay today?" Those questions may sound ordinary to some people, but for Jungkook, it is a reminder that behind all the roles he plays, he is still an ordinary human who deserves to be tired, deserves to feel, and deserves to be listened to. As time goes by, fans begin to realize that Jungkook's relationship with his mother is not just a sweet background story. That is the foundation of who he is today. Many big decisions in his life, including how he worked hard non-stop, turn out to be rooted in his desire to avenge his mother's sacrifice. There is speculation circulating among fans that Jungkook often restrains himself from sharing too much about his family in public. Not because he is not proud, but because he wants to protect them from the spotlight that can be a burden. He chose to keep the most valuable things in his life in a place that no one could reach. However, that night was different. That night, he let the world see a small part of his deepest heart. And maybe, without him realizing it, it actually makes him more loved. The reaction from the fans was amazing. Social media is filled with video clips of the moment, accompanied by emotional messages from ARMY around the world. Many admit that they feel closer to Jungkook after seeing his fragile side. Not even a few said that that moment reminded them of their own relationship with their parents. Some fans wrote that they finally plucked up the courage to contact their mother after not talking for a long time. Others admitted that they began to appreciate the little things that they had been taking for granted. It all started from one simple moment, the tears of an idol on stage. Not everyone can understand the pressure faced by a public figure like Jungkook. However, the emotion he showed that night went beyond all the limits. It's no longer about celebrities and fans, but about people and their feelings. And maybe that's the real strength of Jungkook. Not only his amazing voice, not only his ability on stage, but his courage to remain a human in the middle of a world that often demands perfection. Sometime after that incident, in a short interview, Jungkook was asked about that moment. He just smiled a little embarrassed, and said that he didn't expect to be that emotional. He admitted that he was only speaking honestly from his heart, without thinking about how others would see him. The answer is simple, but that's where the honesty lies.